It's Shannon.
Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon Live.
It's Shannon.
Because you don't know how it's going to turn out.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon.
My kids empowered me to get out.
What's going on with this remote learning in the midst of COVID?
Working for different elected officials, learning and understanding how to put the community first.
Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon. Hello there to my co-host, Dr. Vanessa Dudanzine. How are you?
Hello, Shannon. I'm Blotty. I'm just great. I'm just great.
Well, that's good. You should be great because we're celebrating Women's History Month. And so far, we've had on some great women doing great things. And tonight, we have another great woman coming on who's doing great things in the community. So why don't we introduce her to bring her on?
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Allison Farrington, right? She is the founder and principal of Research in Service High School in Brooklyn. She believes that strong community school relationships are essential to academics and civic achievement. Let's welcome Dr. Farrington to the show.
Well, hello there, Dr. Farrington. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, you know what? We're so glad to have you because, you know, as an educator, we know that's a hard job being an educator, dealing with these children, young people, particular every day. We know that's a hectic job. But let's start off with who you are first. So tell us a little bit about you and what made you decide you wanted to become a principal?
Absolutely. So again, my name is Dr. Allison Farrington. I'm the founder and principal of Research and Service High School in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. I never thought that I'd be a principal. I never thought that I would be an assistant principal. I only saw myself, and to be honest with you, as a teacher. But as a kid, when I thought about teaching, it was really my friends. It was really like my stuffed animals. It wasn't necessarily in front of a classroom. And then I got the opportunity to teach. This wonderful lady, Lena Medley, who's the principal of Thomas Jefferson High School, hired me 8 months pregnant in August and said, hey, you have a job, and gave me an opportunity. And because of that, and my best friend, Terry Ritchie, who asked Miss Medley to hire me, I've always said, let me jump head first and heart first into educating our children. Because that's extremely important. And when my best friend, Mr. Ritchie, was transitioning because he had leukemia, he used to always say to me, you need to be an assistant principal. And I was like, I don't want to lead adults. And like, they're crazy. And once he passed, I became an assistant principal. And then another great friend, Dr. Bernard Gasaway and Dr. Christopher Smith, asked me to open up a transfer school for young people who needed second and third opportunities to be successful in high school. And I felt like it was a proper fit for me simply because of the life and the lived experiences that I had. Being a young kid growing up in the projects with all of these different hardships, being somebody that was into the streets and into just a multitude of different wrong things. I figured out that being a principal and being a founding principal would allow me to leave my footprint in children's lives for success, not just academic success, lived and social success. That's extremely important to me.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting that you say that because when you deal with the millennials today and the young kids today, how resilient are they in getting that second and third chance under your administration and your leadership?
So once kids come to research and they understand, I call it the research way, right? You done tried that your way. It ain't work out for you, homie. It didn't work out well for you, right? Once they drink that research tea, that research Kool-Aid, and they fall in love with all of the things that we have going on, they become extremely successful. So at our school, I think we've tried to figure out how to give kids a childhood and an adulthood at the exact same time. I have to allow you to laugh and joke and play, but I got to expose you to college career opportunities. I have to expose you to rigorous learning. I got to expose you to love, because unfortunately, part of the reason why many of our kids aren't successful is not because they're not successful in school. life hasn't been successful to them.
Exactly. So what have been some of the challenges? Because, when you try to put forth some rules and, let the students know these are the rules that you have to follow. This is what you need to learn. This is what's going to help you out there in the real world. Sometimes they just don't get it. They don't get it.
Let me tell you something, right? If I could have did my dissertation over, I would have did it on the power of the Black woman's finger.
Mm-hmm.
This little pointer finger means so much to young people, and it speaks volumes, right?
Mm-hmm.
My young people don't act up. They understand that when I say or hold your head up, or I love you.
Mm-hmm.
They understand those just most simplistic gestures that they don't come to school and act up. The biggest issue I have is everything they do outside of school. Those are the biggest problems that I have. Like, no, you got arrested again? What we doing? What do you mean? How come you didn't go home last night? Oh, wait, your family's in the shelter now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm dealing with all of the issues that life presents.
Right.
But when they're in school, they understand it. If I say, they know what that means, right? Think about that scene in Malcolm X when Denzel said this. That's it. They march. They march.
But the thing you just said a few minutes ago, Dr. Farrington, when you said the word love, that's what most of the kids are looking for.
Right.
They just looking for some attention, and they're looking for someone to love them. And like you said, depending on what the family situation is, sometimes they're not getting that at home. So when they come to school, they be acting out because they really want you to say something to them.
Right.
Because I have learned that kids want discipline. They do want discipline.
But Lottie, that's good because sometimes they look for love in the wrong places, and then they find themselves caught up in these under the auspices of other type of relationships that they can't get out. Drugs, mischief, being arrested, back and forth, and now they get stuck and they get trapped in that kind of environment, and it's hard for them even to transition to something good because now they've only been focused on and exposed to things that are bad.
Right.
And see, that's what I'm saying about the love and attention. Because see, just like Dr. Farrington said, like when she talks to them, and even though she's being firm, but yet and still she put in there, I love you. So they get the message that she's being firm, but she's not being mean.
And we express our love in just a myriad of different ways, right? We express our love not just in discipline, because that is not the forefront of the school, right? A lot of the reasons why kids is because discipline was being enforced unfairly. So like, for instance, right? You go into many of these schools and you'll see a kid sitting in a hoodie or a kid with a baseball hat on. A dean will walk in or a teacher will walk in, take the hat off, take the hoodie off. And it becomes a confrontation. So now the kid is upset and the kid may say something crazy. Now the kid is suspended. But if you go to Duke University, if you go to Harvard, if you go to Princeton, if you go to Yale, if you go to Howard, those kids are sitting in there with a hoodie that says Howard. They're sitting there with a hat that says Yale. What does a hat or hoodie have to do with the bearing a child's ability to learn? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
But we
But we look at society, right, and how they tend to ostracize and categorize people based on where they live at and marginalized communities and what they represent on the outside, how it represents with law enforcement, how it represents in the court system, how it represents in the correction facility. And this is how they become labeled. So when they present themselves, it could be harmless, but they generalize them as coming from a different perspective.
Absolutely. Most people, when they see me with cuts in my back of my head and all of these tattoos, no one ever say that that's the doctor, that's the principal that founded the school. Just on basic appearance. But I love busting in the room. Boom, look who jumped in the room, right? I enjoy doing that to folk.
Absolutely.
Don't start with me. I don't want to be none.
Exactly.
Well, look, I heard through the grapevine that you a no nonsense principal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I tell kids in a minute, sit down somewhere. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. You don't want none of this. Sit down. You want and you know, I tell kids all the time, I am the nicest, meanest person in the world. Right? I will go in my office and make a baby a sandwich. Serve it to them on the plate with love. And then say, so the last time you was cutting up in that class, right? As you sit there and eat that ham and cheese sandwich, I'm giving it to you because you got to tear them down and build them up. Unfortunately, a lot of times our young people don't know that they're doing something wrong. So you just have to correct the behaviors, but do it in the way. Now, this ain't, you know, beat them up, then hug them, because I don't believe in that.
Right.
I do believe in addressing behaviors and patterns. Tell them exactly where they went wrong, redirecting them, and say, get it right next time.
And give them credit, and give it credit. Give them credit when it's due.
Right. So, Dr. Farrington, you know, we got the new chancellor coming in and new mayor, and you know, Chancellor Banks was, you know, talking about all the new changes that he want to do, and you know how he want to change the school system, and you know, he had 4 pillars that he talked about: diversity in our schools, resilient kids, safe schools, culturally responsive, sustaining education, and the Big Apple Award. Now, these things that he want to put in place, they sound good. They do sound good. You know, they sound good and everything. Do you think that it's really going to make a big impact on changing, you know, some of the, I mean, I know we need change. That I know we need change. But do you think it's really going to make a big impact on the schools?
I do, if it's done the right way. And here's what I mean by this. We have to be real and talk about the fact that, let's say in America, 92% of the teaching force in America are white women, right? 92%. Most of the leaders in education, to be honest, in New York City and the country, are white men. Now, if we take New York City and we really look at the people who are teaching and the people who are leading, if you don't understand the population that you're serving, right? If you don't understand the subtle nuances of the population that you're serving, you don't know what it is to do for them. Like, for instance, years ago, I had a young student, his last name was Ba. And I remember he was sitting down taking the science Regents, living environment Regents exam. And I'm like, come on, baby, you got this. Come on, baby, you got this. And he said, Miss, I don't, because I don't know what this question is asking me. And I was like, read it. He said, I don't know what it means to mow a lawn. I said, baby, that's cut the grass.
Dr. Farrington, we're going to have to take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to finish what you were saying. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Absolutely.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college. So I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
If you're just joining us, we're celebrating Women's History Month, and our special guest is Dr. Allison Farrington. So before we went to break, we was talking about Chancellor's Bank new diversities that he wanted to put in place.
Right. So the point that I was trying to make is that if leaders don't understand the subtle nuances of the community in which they serve, right, all of those beautiful ideas that this man has will be for naught. If you don't understand what chopped cheese is,
Right.
if you don't understand the language that our students speak, if you're not visionary enough to identify your own privilege, your own implicit bias, right, to identify it, to accept it, and to learn from it, then these pillars are going to be difficult to institute, right? Because the former chancellor, both of the former chancellors, Carranza and Porter, both talked about equity. Equity is important, but the people who lead the schools have to understand exactly what it is that looks like in order for these pillars to definitely stand strong.
But let me ask you something. Okay, since we're talking about these diversities in the school with these pillars, do you think it's more advantageous for instructors, educators that look like the students, be able to teach them more effectively? And how do you think about the big controversy thing with the critical race theory that's now becoming a big controversy in teaching in schools?
So it's only a big controversy because it's a new acronym that's out, right? If you're a real educator, you were doing it all along. Right. You were doing it all along. When I was a U.S. history teacher, I taught U.S. history, and I'm not in any way communist, socialist, any of that, but I taught it from the anti-American point of view, and here's the reason why I did so. We always remember gossip. We remember every time our mama done whooped our tail. More than we remember how many times our mama said, I love you, right? So when you teach those points, kids remember them. They internalize them because it's something that they can relate to. And also in teaching critical race theory, it helps people identify privilege. It helps people identify systematic racism. Because when we say terms like systematic racism, what does that mean? What does systematic racism look like in the health sector? What does it look like in housing? What does it look like in mental health? What does it look like in policing? So we have to be able to identify these things, because the biggest reason why we have education is because it's supposed to be the great equalizer.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
It's what's supposed to put us on equal footing. So if we don't speak truth to this thing, we continue the cycle.
But that's why the system is designed the way it is, and it's also working how it's intended to work.
Right. And I made it a point to make sure that I hired Black and brown men to teach classes outside of gym. Because unfortunately in our educational system throughout the country, Black men are not seen as academic. No, I got a Black math teacher.
They're not.
Right? I got a Black music teacher. I have several black male English teachers. Because our young people have to see themselves as academic. I always tell my young people, do not display your ignorance, always display your brilliance. So the way in which I have to perpetuate that story is by showing them Black academic brilliance. And that doesn't mean that other people can't come to my school and teach, because they do. They're there. My assistant principal is a white woman, and she's a doctor. So she's displaying brilliance for women. I mean, she is great at operations. She is great. I mean, this woman is dope. So we do need
because I think the staff should be mixed. Right. I feel that the staff should be mixed as well, because you still got to learn how to work with all people. You know, because when you graduate, you're gonna be out there in the real world. So you're gonna see some of everybody in every color. And so the kids need to also see that while they're in school. You know, I agree with you about having the Black males there, because the young males need to see this male figure there. And, you know, they can also see the same figure to learn, even if they weren't Black. They can learn from other people as well. The thing about it is we got to instill in our kids, when you come to school, you come to learn. You're not coming there to play around and fool around. You got time to do all of that after 3 o'clock. But when you step through that door at 8:30, this is about being educated. And this is what we need to teach these kids at home. So when they come to school, they come ready to learn. Because if you don't give them that talk about how they supposed to act, like my father told me, I better not never have to come up to the school for you, unless it's for parent teacher night or to pick up that report card. Don't let me have to come to school for any other reason. So we had to talk before school started. And if I got in trouble in school, I would plead like I don't know what. Do not call my father. I will work in the office all week, do whatever you want. Don't call him.
And here's the crazy thing, right? Growing up, a kid in the projects in the middle of Bensonhurst, I never had a Black educator until I went to college. And because I was in an honors program from about first grade through ninth grade, I only had one other Black student in the class with me. The way in which our schools were set up in elementary school is they had zoning. So when the principals got the list of kids and the addresses, they knew exactly what kids lived in Marlboro Projects. And they were automatically, because remember, we were tracked too. They were automatically relegated to the classes that were underperforming. And my mother said, not this one. You know, not mine, not these three. We're going to do what's right because it's right. So my entire public school career here in New York City, and I didn't finish out high school here. I finished out high school in the state of Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont. But my entire high school career, all of my elementary school, it was me and Jerry Mack. He probably gonna kill me if he hear this. And in middle school, it was me and Chris Brown, may rest in peace. And I remember, and we were in the honors class, right? And I remember one day, in middle school, our principal walked in the room to congratulate the student who had scored a perfect score on the statewide English assessment. And he looked all around for Chris Brown, thinking it wasn't a little Black boy. And Chris said, "Sir, that's me." When I say this man had an egg all on his face, he did not know what to do with us. So taking those experiences into leadership, I have to always think about, I don't care what it is my students deal with. They are all honest just like me.
Exactly. Right. You know, and see also too, Dr. Farrington, I want to go back to when you was talking about the other two chancellors coming in. I mean, Chancellor Porter, she didn't stay long enough for me to even to give an opinion on her or whatever. But when Chancellor Richard came in, right? And I said, okay, then, so you know, maybe he's going to do a little something, you know. And I thought he was doing pretty good. I thought he was doing a pretty good job, you know. But that day when he came on and he started talking about the gifted program, how he was going to change, you know, the gifted program, I looked at my daughter. I said, trust me, he'll be gone in a month's time. Tina said, what do you mean he'll be gone in a month's time? You don't get up there talking about this is what you want to do. You have to work it through quietly, get the people involved that you need to get involved. And if you need to make any changes to the gifted program, I said, because you have to understand who's in the gifted program. You have to look at who's in the gifted program. So that means those people are not going to let you get rid of the gifted program. I don't care if you chancellor, whoever you are. 3 weeks later, he gone. 3 weeks later, and she looking at me like, how did the system work? I know how it's going to work. Because I said you were talking too much. The same thing with Chancellor Bank when they came in talking about all this stuff they gonna do and do. I said you're talking too much. You're talking too much. Don't come in with that bang about you gonna change this and you gonna change that. It ain't happening. You gonna change something, but you ain't gonna change all of that you talking about.
See, but here's one of the beautiful things I think that Banks is looking at too, allowing principals to have some form of autonomy.
That's what I think.
Right, provided that they can show that they're responsible and accountable.
Exactly.
Right? Every school should have a gifted and talented program that the principal starts.
That's what I said.
We don't need a program. I don't need a mandate.
I said
it's the vision of the leader in the building. I don't need a policy. I don't need a rule stating. Why isn't every kid treated like they're gifted and talented? I'm confused.
This is what I'm
saying. Here with my little transfer school, I said, listen, everybody taking AP advanced placement, lit and language, advanced placement, lit and composition. That's your English class. Every kid taking it. They said, wait, what you mean? No. What you mean what I mean? That's advanced placement. That's a gifted and talented that every kid deserves an opportunity to have
Exactly.
access to.
Absolutely.
I don't need a policy to tell. My daughter was in a gifted and talented program. She got in through pre-K.
Mhm.
She's an educator now, so this was a long time ago because she's a teacher now.
Mhm.
I remember when I walked her into the testing site. I knew that they were testing kids as soon as we walked in. They were testing families as well. And when she came out, I said, "What questions did they ask you?" She said, "They asked me my colors." I said, "What?" She said, "Then they showed me pictures of kids' emotions, and she had to identify them. What kid looked sad? What kid looked happy?" She had to,
Mhm.
no damn gifted and talented.
Mhm.
Not no test that you gave this kid in pre-K kindergarten
Mhm.
sets her up for education for the next 12 years. She's in
Exactly.
What was
Exactly.
what was
Exactly. Mhm.
you hold up a
Exactly.
country? Do you know your first, middle, and last name? Now the test may have gotten more sophisticated now, but let's think about 20 or well, she's 22 now. So going in at 4, right? Maybe 18, 17, 18 years ago, that set her up just simply because she knew her first, last, and middle name. That ain't gifted.
That's not, yeah.
Basic
But that's
family.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Even when they apply for the program, they don't be really asking them anything that's gonna make you think they're real smart kids anyway. All the kids can go in there and answer those questions.
And they
That's the
should have known
problem.
that before school started. They
Well,
they
this is what I'm saying. All of that kind of stuff you learn, I think, from the time they're born to the time they go to school, they already ready for school when they get there. If the parents do what they supposed to do, so you supposed to be those kids when they hit kindergarten should know how to read already. But
absolutely.
you know, we get excited, so I forget about everything, you know, like that. So
About to remind you.
can you stick around for the after show? Can you
I
stick
sure
around for
can.
that?
I will be
So
here.
we're gonna come back with after show. I'm sorry, y'all. The time runs out real fast and everything like that. But you know, if you want to hear more from Dr. Farrington, you stick around for our after show that's coming up right after this. But we want to thank everybody else that's been watching us, and we hope you have gotten something out of the show today. So we're celebrating Women's History Month, and you can see our guest is the dynamic Dr. Allison Farrington. So yeah, go over to her school over there on Fulton Street and visit her school.
Come on.
Research and
My
Service
office is in
High
the
School.
hallway.
They're doing great stuff
Get
over
off the
there.
elevator.
So thank you for watching, and
Thank
as
you.
always, we'll see you next time.
Today's show is sponsored by Abu's Bakery. If you have a sweet tooth, stop by Abu's Bakery for some delicious cakes and pies.
It's Shannon. 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 Keeping it real. It's Shannon.
Hi, I hope you stuck around for our after show. We want to finish up with Dr. Allison Farrington. I wanted to, say something after about what you were saying when we was talking about the new chancellor and his vision. You know, I want to support what he wants to do because I know there's so many changes that need to take place. And I know everything is not going to happen, in his term because there's just so much that needs to be untangled. But the most important thing I really want to see is the change in putting the resources in all the schools, not just a school here that got everything and this school here doesn't have nothing. But I always, tell the parents all the time when they're talking, I said, look, you also have to play a part in the school because you can raise money for the school to get programs in your school because there are some schools that have a PTA and those parents get out there and they work, they raise money, they start an after school program, for the kids to get help. So it takes everybody in the school to do something for the school, not the principal. Because now, if you're a creative principal, yes. You know, some principals go out there, they bring in sponsorship, like, you know, principals go out there and hook up with Robin Hood Foundation. You have to be a creative principal to run the school, but you also need staff and the parents and everybody also to do things to help bring in stuff for resources for the school. That's what I'd like to see for them to do in all the schools.
Absolutely. And I think that there needs to be space for principals, because we do have monthly, like, district superintendent meetings and stuff. I think that there needs to be creative space for principals to talk about how principals. I know a group of dynamic principals, and their partnership is simply with their budget. And they have figured out how to do some dynamic things in order to bring the resources into the building, right? But if we don't talk to each other, right? If our principals meetings are so structured where I'm just lectured to, and I don't have time to just sit down and commune with somebody who's doing this thing really well, I'll never learn. I'll never know what to do. When I started my school's food pantry, which is probably one of the most, if not the largest school pantry in the city.
Okay.
Right? Of any public school in the city. When I started the food pantry, and I did it like 7 years ago. Right now, people are starting to ask, "What'd you do? How'd you do it?"
Right.
This is a conversation we could have had 7 years ago.
Exactly.
Our kids are hungry. Every school should have a washer and dryer.
Exactly.
Schools have the budgets to buy them. But what needs to get out the way, custodial staff need to get out the way. Just plug this joint up, man. Make it work. Don't tell me you can't. Don't make excuses for it. Because how I got my wash and dryer, I purchased the washer and dryer. It was sitting up for 3 years unused. Chancellor Carranza came to my pantry, was blown away. He said, "What else do you need?" I said, "I need my washer and dryer to be hooked up. I've had it for 3 years." The custodians keep telling me, and I love my custodial staff. I said, "But the custodial engineer keeps telling me it can't be done." Why the next day my washer and dryer was hooked up?
Because it couldn't be done.
You just have to ask.
Exactly, because it couldn't be done. And they knew it could be hooked up. He knew it could be hooked up. But anything that they can keep you from doing something that's beneficial, that's the way some of them are. Instead of all of them working together. See, that's the problem. Why we can't work together.
And
they're too busy working in silos.
Right.
But they're too busy working in silos, trying to get their own recognition and accommodation and accreditation, instead of working together collectively and collectively still bring the whole vision of leadership, you know, for the better benefit of all, you know. So that's part of the problem.
Well, see, that's why they have to understand. They have to understand when you work together with the principal. When the principal grows, you grow.
You grow.
Because that means everybody growing.
You grow.
But I don't know, but it's just that some people can't seem to understand that working together is what's going to make things better.
They're trying to take credit for themselves and not looking at it as a collective effort. Everybody's putting in something.
Right.
Everybody have something to add, but they just want to be the ones to get all the credit.
Well, see, that's how that comes. Even when I say working together is because when you said about the autonomy of the principal, yeah, I always wanted principal to get where they would have the freedom, where they could have the freedom. Like, okay, this is my vision for my school. This is what I want to do. And if these people are not coming along with it, I need to get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? They got to find a way to get rid of them. That's the custodial staff and everybody. If you ain't on board to help me make this school a good school, then I need to be able to say, you needs to hit the door.
Right. And I have a great relationship with all of the school safety, custodial staff, school foods, the school nurse, the other two principals in the building. When I say we run this thing, because my school can't be cleaner than your school. What do you mean? What we doing? How we in the same building and your school look crazy and my school is all neat? No, now what we doing? I don't care whose kid, right? Because we're all everybody's child.
Exactly.
So, little simple thing. If I'm cooking breakfast every Friday morning, I cook breakfast for the students. Me and
what time? What time? What goes out as soon as we start talking about the food. We start talking about the food at the school.
You trying to put her to work now, Lonnie. Like,
Wait, I'm trying to get over there for breakfast. And as soon as we start talking about the food, she goes up the air.
Listen, we're in the middle of the week now. We got time to get there for this week.
Well, hopefully she'll come back. Hopefully she can get her thing working and come back on. But that's been the problem, with the school system and everything and that's why a lot of things can't take place, because a lot of time the principal hands are tied. Particularly like with the teachers union, all of these unions, they tie their hands sometimes. That's why you got to know how to work around the union, or they have to all get on board together, because that causes also a lot of problems in the school as well. And that when that happens, then you don't grow like you should, because then you can't get all the resources that you need, for the school. Oh, we're happy to see you back. I was just asking what time is breakfast, and then now you're going to go off at that time.
I am so sorry. We're in the building generally about 7 o'clock in the morning cooking breakfast. The kids come in at 8:50, so we're cooking from about 7 in the morning to about 10 in the morning. Every single.
Really? So any of the kids can come down and have breakfast when they come in?
Yep.
Wait, Lottie, Dr. President, turn your camera sideways.
Okay.
Oh, we
That's
lost that.
wonderful then. That's a good thing, because even the kids can really learn how to cook. That'll be also a learning experience for them to learn how to cook and stuff.
Right.
All schools should have that then. No, some schools I think they do have like cooking session, but not like they used to. But they used to teach cooking in the school.
Home.
I'm so sorry. The struggle is real today.
Yeah. Thank you for coming back. Yeah. So
sorry,
we were just talking about the cooking in the school is a good thing also, because if the kids also are cooking, it teaching them now how to cook. So maybe down the road, one might want to be a chef or something, So that's like a learning experience all in one.
And that's what I also mean about like a visionary principal has to be married to their budget. I built out a kitchen. Once the DOE said we were held harmless last year because of COVID. So I said, well, I can't really buy too much stuff, but what capital improvement things can I do? Let's build out this kitchen.
Right. Okay.
Let's bring chefs in to teach them how to cook. Let's have games and activities with the kids around cooking, because I got this pantry, but can kids cook the food from there at home? Let me find ways in which to teach them how to cook and do different things.
Well, let me ask you something. I know there's a lot of programs that have been taken out of the school system, like financial literacy here and there. And I always I came out of retirement to focus on building wealth. And I know that once finance come out of the school, they're not teaching workers. They're not teaching thinkers. They're teaching workers. So how does that transition when the kids are leaving the school? And I know your kids are a little bit older, but when they get into the real world, and how they're able to better defend themselves financially.
So we do teach financial literacy. And I mean, the biggest reason that is because I tell kids it's not the 4 years you're with me, it's the 40 year without me that I'm most concerned about.
Yeah.
So that 40 year without me is about you understanding how to get the bag, how to save the bag, how to credit the bag, how to do all of that stuff with the bag. So we teach it. And what people need to understand is, like, especially in high school, all kids, in order to graduate from New York State, they have to have an economics course. It's mandatory.
Oh, okay.
But then what we also don't understand is all kids have to have 4 years of English. How come one of those English classes can't be a financial literacy class?
Right. Okay.
So you just have to be visionary, right? You got to think about, how do I have what system do I put in place within this system in order to make sure my kids are going to be good when they're without me? Because unfortunately, you're right. We teach them how to be workers. We teach them to go into that cycle of poverty. We most certainly do. We teach these kids, and especially the age of the student that I have. When you are 20 years old and you are I'm competing with get a high school education so that you can go into college and career of your choice, versus Amazon is paying you $20 an hour. You think at 18, 19, 20, $20 an hour is good. I'm thinking that's the cycle of poverty being revisited.
Right.
And this is why we
Right.
still in that cycle of generational debt and can't move to the next level to build generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that might be something that maybe some kind of way that can be incorporated and not in the curriculum, because the Board of Ed, is probably not going to put it in there, but maybe like how they bring the side programs into the school, and sometimes people come in and teach a certain class or whatever. Maybe that's something to think about, doing it that way, and
You
start teaching
absolutely
kids
can.
about
But like
finance.
when I say like pushing into English classes on a history level, excuse me, on a leadership level, right? There is nothing that tells you what books kids have to read in high school. There's standards, but there is nothing that says this is the prescribed books for this class. It
Do they
is
have
the
to prove
teacher
those
who
books?
generally says, I love Shakespeare, that's all I want to teach.
Okay.
Or there's a leader that says this is the canon of books I want kids to read. But there is nothing that says that English 1 can't be a financial literacy class.
Right.
There's nothing it just says a kid needs English 1. You decide the syllabi. You decide the curriculum.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay. Because this is my big thing, especially when although your kids are a little bit older, they transition into college. It's a whole nother beast when they go out there to college. What's the first thing they do when they get into college? They had a whole room full of a bunch of credit cards. Everybody gets one. Everybody's approved. Yeah. And next, they're in debt before they get out of school at the first year. So it's really teaching the discipline, but they can have the commitment. And it just needs to be more of that, particularly in our Black and brown marginalized communities, so
Absolutely.
we can get out that mindset of living in generational debt of just thriving to survive when you could be thriving to get to the next level.
Absolutely. And part of that getting out of that mindset of generational debt is helping us understand that poverty is masked in vanity. We be the best looking broke people in the world.
Absolutely.
No, we don't.
Listen, we're 95% consumers and owners.
No, we don't.
We be the best looking broke people in the world.
It's true.
Why do you have on these $700 sneakers walking over a pissy stairwell? What are we doing?
That reminded me of a student in the 7th grade. She used to come to class every day dressed to the nines. Oh, the outfit, the sneakers matching, and couldn't spell a lick. Couldn't spell a lick, but she would dress to the nines every day. And I'm saying that's more important, for the parent to be buying you all of these clothes and dress. And I know they must know you can't read or whatever. So it's like we have to back up, and these parents need to realize that education comes first. Not all those expensive clothes and sneakers. It's about the education coming first. And if we could get past that, I think it would be a whole lot better, because let me tell you, everything starts at home. I don't care what anyone says. It starts in the home first.
Right.
And whatever starts in the home, that's what spills out by the time they get to school.
There's a brother out of the University of Chicago, and I remember sitting in one of his workshops probably 9 years ago, because I think it was the first year I became a principal. And he's doing all of this research about Black boys and reading. And the thing that really caught my attention was, he said, on average, white people spend 11,000 hours reading to their children before they hit kindergarten. From inception to kindergarten, 11,000 hours. And he said Black people spend 7, not 700, not 7,000. 7 hours reading to our children from the womb to kindergarten.
No, because our kids from the womb to kindergarten is
listen to music
on those little items, hitting it, playing the game. That's what they're on, and that's the problem. And you can't get it. You can't tell people nothing about their kids when you say they're on the tablet too long, they're on the computer too long, they're on the thing too long. Where's the book? How come they're not reading the book?
And reading is free. Remember the movie Three Men and a Little Baby?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene where I forget the actor's name. He's reading like either the New York Times or something to this baby. And one of the other actors say, "Well, why are you doing that?" And he said, "Well, research says it doesn't matter what you read. It's all in
As
how
long
you
as
read it."
exactly.
So they start picking up vocabulary early.
They do. They do. And
Their
the reason
language
you know the kids are so smart because these little 4 and 5 years old can tell you how to work the phone. Trust me. So if they can learn how to work the phone, don't tell me they can't learn how to do their schoolwork and stuff like that. That's when I realized then, you know, even with my own granddaughter, she had to show me how to use my own phone when I got it and stuff like that. She only 8 years old, and I'm like, well, if you can teach me how to use this phone, then you can make sure
you
you
can
do
teach
your
me to do
schoolwork
anything.
in the
And
classroom.
that also means that I can teach you anything.
Exactly. So Dr. Farrington, look, we want to keep keeping you because we know you got things to do. You got to get ready, you know, for school tomorrow. So we want to really, really thank you for
I want to
taking the
thank you
time
guys
and
for
coming
having
on
me.
and
Absolutely.
you know sharing your experiences being a woman as a principal because I know it's not easy.
It's not.
And it's harder for women to be principals of schools and stuff like that. We know that. We know the challenges and stuff like that. But
Never lie.
you were doing a good job. You were doing an excellent job. And we can tell that you care about the students. And that's very important when the person, even though they may aggravate you or whatever, but you still care about them. And that's very important. And, you know, we're going to support you in any kind of way that we can. If you need help, you know, with your school or getting somebody to come in, you know, to help out and do anything, you know, just reach out to us and
Absolutely.
you know, and we'll be there to, you know, to help you out. And I hope you will come back again.
Whenever y'all want me,
You know what I'm saying? Because if you
Whenever
point
you
that
guys want
finger
me.
at us, we gonna sit down. That's what we gonna do.
We're gonna sit down. Whenever you guys want me, I'm here. This was amazing. I thank you all for the opportunity. You guys have filled my soul today. I don't know if you understand. I feel the sisterhood and the camaraderie and the love and the laughter. And yes, I'm having technical difficulties tonight. I don't know why. Especially, my computer's plugged in, so I don't know how it went dead. It's been plugged in all night. But
well, that's okay. That's okay. You're not the first one. It happens all the time.
As long as you came back and kept it going.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you again for coming. And like I
you.
said, hopefully, you know, we'll see you again. And we'll talk to you the next time. So thank you for
Absolutely.
watching the
Have a
after
great night.
show. And as always, we'll see you next time.